The entire test right there. If there are two chains.
The answer is your judge.
Do they stack?
What?
Judge's Tower. We have another Judge's Tower.
Yeah.
That's a good test.
Judge's Tower.
You have a vintage legal library that's shared amongst all players. You draw cards equal to your judge level, and anytime a player commits a rules infraction, they lose. You have infinite life. You play with your hand revealed, and if you can take an action, you have to take it at the first available opportunity.
If you miss it, there's an infraction.
And you lose.
I don't think I'd survive shuffling.
I lost pretty quick, I'll tell you that. It's a fun time.
And then last player standing wins.
All right, well, we are ready to go.
Sounds like fun.
We're live now.
We are certainly live.
We can do that one.
Welcome, people. Are watching us. Welcome to our judge classes. We would like to thank Paragon City Games for hosting us. Please feel free to check them out on the web or in the store.
Woo!
So today, after missing last week when we were all down in Vegas, or half of us were down in Vegas, we are talking about state-based actions. So the first question is, what are state-based actions? For this, I will need 2 volunteers from my audience. 2? Yes, 2.
Oh no, Patrick's in the room now,
Oh,
so
wait, Patrick, go.
he's technically still a student.
If you want to come on.
Alrighty.
You have been volunteered.
Stand up.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's what I used to always say.
I failed. I volunteer as tribute.
Okay,
When you get
so-
volunteered,
So we need like a white belt tribute. Isn't that how Hunger Games works?
State-based actions are the rules, or the game checking the rules. So, when you get something, you get the sharing stick. And when you decide to pass priority, you would pass it to them. But state-based actions interferes and grabs it first. And then they check. And if state-based actions happen, they check again until no state-based actions happen. During this time, either player can have triggers that are going, ooh, me. I want to put my trigger on the stack. And
Dark Depths.
it's like, wait, it's my turn with the sharing stick. Okay, now we pass it on.
Thespian stage. Become a copy of Dark Depths.
State-based actions check. And check again. And then pass it on. So essentially, those are what state-based actions are. Have been knighted. Woo! Okay, thank you, volunteers.
Okay, thank you.
Very good, Bishop. How many times is it checked?
All the time.
It checks all the time, yes. And when does it stop checking and let players go on to do stuff?
When a player has priority? When they're
That's
activating
what
ability.
happens. When's the last time state-based actions check before it passes on?
When
Before you get the
everything
sharing
has
stick.
gone through the sequence, like when everything's been checked.
When when no state-based actions happened, it checked, saw nothing happen, says, okay, I'm done with the sharing stick. It's all yours. So with state-based actions, there's a list of about 15 things that it checks. So what we're doing today is we are going through the list with cards. That caused us to be a little late, and that is my fault, and I apologize. But thanks to it, us being a little late, we have a beautiful slideshow.
do.
Okay. So the first state-based action is if a player has 0 life or less, he or she loses the game. So for my card, I have Lightning Bolt, because it does 3 damage and causes the player to have 0 life or less. Our second state-based action, if you want to go to the next card.
Yes, we'll do. Ooh. Click.
Woo. If a player has 10 or more poison counters, he or she loses the game.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. If a player attempts to draw a card from an empty library since the last time state-based actions were checked, he or she loses the game. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
With this one, if a token is put anywhere other than the battlefield, instead it'll go there and then it ceases to exist. So, goblin token sadly dies, is put into the graveyard, and when state-based actions check, poof, it goes away. Goodbye, goblin. The next one, which doesn't have a picture, is if a copy of a spell is in a zone other than the stack, it ceases to exist. If a copy of a card is in a zone other than this, if a copy of a card is in any zone other than the stack or the battlefield, it'll cease to exist. So with cards like Manifest from Fate Reforged, you can manifest the top card of your library, it becomes a 2/2 creature. And then, I don't know, is it Ixodron? Can turn face up.
No, Ixodron. Blah. He turns everything into a 2/2 that's on the battlefield. They can't be turned face up.
There's the one wizard who can turn things face up, though, right?
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
some way to turn that manifest creature face up,
Sure.
which is a state of a card, which we covered in week 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember previous or other states of cards? We've got 3 more.
Face up.
Which ones have been covered?
Face up, face down.
Tapped.
Tapped and untapped.
I'm having a hard time remembering. I'm sorry.
Can't remember that one.
So we've got the Kamigawa. Does that help?
Ninjutsu?
They're flipped or unflipped. The ones where it's like
Trying to get
stab
a-
whisker
Oh,
the
that's
Odious.
right.
Yeah.
I remember.
And then the other one is the phased in or phased out. Okay. Phase. It's just a phase this card's going through. It'll get better. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Yes. If
If a creature has 0 toughness or less, like our Force of Savagery, it's a 3 in the green for a creature elemental with trample, that is an 8/0.
Seems like a good card.
If a creature has 0 toughness or less, it is put into its owner's graveyard. Regeneration can't replace this effect. So even if we were for some reason able to regenerate it doesn't work, we can't replace that effect with regeneration. So anything like Dismember takes things down to less toughness. So that would be put to the graveyard the next time state-based actions check. And the next slide. If a creature has toughness greater than 0 and has been dealt damage by a source with Death Touch since the last time state-based actions have been checked, that creature is destroyed and regeneration can't replace its effect. And there's one more. If a creature has toughness greater than 0 and the total damage marked on it is greater than or equal to its toughness, that creature has been dealt lethal damage and is destroyed, and again, regeneration can't replace this effect. So when you regenerate, we talked about it in your lesson. Quick review, gets a little shield that the next time it would die, instead it is removed from combat, all damage is removed from it, and it becomes tapped instead of being destroyed. Okay, now next slide, because I'm remembering what's happening now. So, we've got Jace the Mind Sculptor. Slightly becoming less of a legacy staple. I don't know, is it still a legacy staple, my legacy people?
Yes.
Technically
Okay,
blue
still
white.
legacy staple.
Staple was a light thing to say, but who's played?
If a planeswalker has 0 loyalty, it is put into its owner's graveyard. And if a player controls 2 or more planeswalkers that share a planeswalker type, so we've got planeswalker dash Jace, they share the same type. One of them is put into its owner's graveyard. This is called the Planeswalker Uniqueness Rule. So even if we have Jace, and then if we have Jace Architect of Thought, we pick one and put that one in our graveyard. so the other one can live on, be strong. Okay, let's go on to the next slide.
Where's my cursor? There it is.
So, in this one, we have Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. He is a dragon wizard who does damage when you draw cards. Pretty awesome, because he's a dragon wizard. If you have two Niv-Mizzet the Firemind out at the same time, the legend rule is checked in the state-based actions, and one of them is put into its controller's graveyard. However, if you have a different Niv-Mizzet Draco Genius, who has a different name, even though legendary creature dragon wizard, same type, both of them stay out on the field, because these are both different creatures, and the legend rule will not apply to these. Let's go on to the next slide.
Wunderbar.
Okay, if you have two world enchantments, which is a really old thing, then the not most recent one is put into its owner's graveyard. So the most recent one will stay on the battlefield. As a super type world, I'll accept the one that has been permanent for the shortest amount of time and put into the owner's graveyards. In the event of a tie, all of them are put into their owner's graveyards. So if we played Show and Tell and what's it called, like Netherworld, you put Netherworld in, I put Concordant Crossroads in, they would both go into the graveyard.
Wait, Netherworld? What
Yes,
does that card do?
Netherworld, the black counter, unless you pay 3.
I feel like it is.
Sure.
It's a world enchantment.
Call to the Netherworld?
Sure.
Sure.
No big deal. Another world enchantment. Do Concordant Crossroads.
Okay, if we both have Concordant Crossroads
Yeah.
that come in off of a Show and Tell, they both go away.
Oh.
And we are sad because none of our creatures have haste anymore.
No, they have
But I thought,
creatures getting-
weren't you going? Oh.
Okay, so if an aura is attached to an illegal object or player, it is not attached to that object or player, and that aura is put into its owner's graveyard. So if we have Spirit Mantle, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has protection from creatures for 1 and a white. And we have Humility out, so all creatures are 1/1s and lose all abilities. The order doesn't matter here in this one. And I have my Spirit Mantle enchanting my Polis Crusher. He's like a 4/4 with protection from enchantments. That's the important part here. And the Humility is destroyed. Because he has protection from enchantments, the Spirit Mantle will fall off and be put into the owner's graveyard.
Good.
If an equipment or fortifications only appear on like one card from Time Spiral, is attached to an illegal permanent, it becomes unattached from that permanent and it will remain on the battlefield. The next one, if a creature is attached to an object or player, it becomes unattached and remains on the battlefield. I honestly cannot think of a case where this applies, but
Which one?
if a creature is attached to a player or permanent,
So
it becomes unattached.
So,
Welcome.
Creature? Is that like the
Arrows
name?
block?
Or,
Bestow very specifically
Since it's
whenever
aura.
they're
Yeah.
enchanting. It was only an aura.
Yep, the stow gets around it. I suppose if we made target aura becomes a 1/1 or target enchantment becomes a 1/1 creature.
Target permanent becomes a 1/1. Although I don't even know if that card exists.
So in that case, the creature would be unattached and sit on the side a little bit and become a creature for however.
Could you give an
long.
example for the artifact one, the equipment?
If we give pro artifacts to
You have a
Stoneforge Mystic.
Painter Servant and like sort of whatever, one of the sort of Feast and Famine. Name one of the colors and then everything becomes that color and then it's happened to me in
So,
Legacy. It sucks.
Tony just said you have Painter's Servant and the creature is equipped with sort of
Okay.
Feast and Famine, so protection from green and black. Well, isn't it equipped creature has protection from green and black?
But everything becomes green and black.
Everything becomes green and black. And
Yes.
as we learned when we talked about protections in Kai's lesson, what does protection mean? Because I'm teaching a class and we want interaction. Who remembers what protection means?
Dead, right? Damage, effects.
Enchantment.
Oh, enchantments.
Equips.
Equips.
Damage, targeted, or blocked.
Target.
There we go.
Yeah.
And fortification, but again, that only applies to one card from
Time
Time
Spiral.
Spiral.
Yeah.
That, at the moment, doesn't really do anything.
So yes. They
Yep.
fall off in that circumstance because it's illegal to be attached to it.
Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Where am I? There it is.
This is Kitchen Finks. I played Kitchen Finks in the Coco combo deck when Splinter Twin got banned. I like my Kitchen Finks. Kitchen Finks is one hybrid white-green. Creature Oofy. When Kitchen Finks enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. And that has persist. So when it dies, if it didn't have any -1/-1 counters on it, it comes back to the battlefild with a -1/-1 counter on it. And it's a 3/2. So, the deck I played it in, Coco Combo, not Absent Company. It's the same thing, but Coco Combo just sounds so much better. I would also run Gavany Township, which for 2 green-white, you could tap and put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So one of the state-based actions is, if a permanent with both +1/+1 counter on and a -1/-1 counter on it, n +1/+1 and n -1/-1 counters on it, where n is the smallest number of +1/+1 and -1/-1 counters. So essentially, they cancel each other out. So he persists back, comes in with a -1/-1 counter on it. I activate Gavany Township, which I'm sad because if he's dying, I should have like an Anafenza or Malira out so I can just win the game. Not win, but gain a lot of life. Have to set a number. But they will cancel each other out. Both of them will go away, and he is free to die again. Or she. I suppose it could be a group.
They? Looks like it's a group.
There is more than
Them
one.
folk. Them folk are free to die again. I mean, it is called Finks, so there's more than one of them. Okay, this is important because, not this, I mean, this is important also, but the next statement is important because on your level 1 test, there are generally a couple questions about Two-Headed Giant. So this is a good state-based action to remember. Well, not this one in particular, but in Two-Headed Giant, you have 30 life. And if that life is reduced to 0, the team loses.
Mm-hmm.
But this next one, in Two-Headed Giant, if a team has 15 or more poison counters, that team loses. So we upped it from the traditional 10 up to 15. So that team will lose. In a commander game, a player that has been dealt 21 or more combat damage by the same commander over the course of the game loses the game. So if Logan's commander dealt me 15 damage and Tony's commander dealt me 15 damage, I'd still be okay because I have 40 life and 15 damage from 2 different commanders, not the same one. Sorry, the light's like shining bright in
Yeah.
my face and I'm being
So,
blinded.
so in this
You can
year's,
stand in front of the door.
yeah.
Okay.
That's just part of the, like,
So in this year's commander
still in the
decks,
stream.
they have the dual commanders.
Yes,
So each of those are individual as well,
correct.
not just the player's commander.
Right, each of those would have to, so one would have to deal you 21
Right,
and
right,
the other
yeah,
one would
that's
have
the
to deal you
mechanic.
21. If both of them have dealt you 15, you are still fine. And most of those commanders were like rather low power and toughness. So if you were dealt 15 by them, that is rather impressive from a player.
Really
piloting
cool
them.
note that this is about a commander dealing you damage. So if some horrible evil blue player steals your own commander and beats you 21 damage with
You
it,
still die.
You still die.
Yeah.
Also, because we're down this rabbit hole now, why not? That card will always be identified as your commander. So if we play Ixodron and everything gets turned face down, that card is still your commander, and any damage the 2/2 morph deals to
What?
you is still commander
Oh
damage.
my gosh. 'Cause it's marked as the same creature. That's interesting.
Yep.
Huh.
Still the same for me.
It's
just in a
marked
different
as the
state.
commander. The technical. Sorry.
There's an archenemy scheme thing, which, man,
Oh no.
Arch
thing
enemy's
just
coming
came out. Yeah,
So,
it just came out, so we do have to talk about this.
Those schemes are insane.
In an archenemy game, if a non-ongoing scheme card is face up in the command zone, and it isn't the source of a triggered ability that has triggered but has not yet left the stack, that scheme is turned face down and put on the bottom of its owner's ongoing scheme deck.
Sweet. Moving on.
So essentially, if you play a non-ongoing scheme, it does its thing and goes away.
Okay.
Awesome.
I didn't want to talk about that. In a plane chase game, if a phenomenon card is face up in the command zone and it isn't the source of a triggered ability that has triggered but not yet left the stack, the planar controller planeswalks. So if you flip over a phenomenon, sorry, you do the phenomenon effect, and then you planeswalk away as the state-based action. Okay, got like one quick question on state-based actions, and then we are more or less done unless people in the chat or classroom, which if you are in the chat, you are more than welcome to come join the classroom. We've got plenty of room. It'll be fun. Get to see me dance before class.
Whoa.
So, let's go on to the next slide. I have 3 Scion of the Wild. Scion of the Wild says, Scion of the Wild's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. So at the moment, they are all 3/3s. This Scion of the Wild over here has a -1/-1 counter on it. So it is a 2/2.
Whoa.
This Scion of the Wild has a +1/+1 counter on it. So it is a 4/4. And let's hit the next slide.
Yeah.
You, my dastardly opponent, have cast
Pyroclasm.
something. Pyroclasm. Pyroclasm deals 2 damage to each creature. Are we able to go back a slide?
Sure.
Sweet.
One
While I
moment.
destroy the room.
It's not your fault.
Trying to fix the stream ones. Kind of doesn't show all 3 of the
Okay.
scions.
Okay, so
2 damage.
what happens when we cast Pyroclasm?
All right. So you say one has a +1/+1 counter, one has a -1/-1 counter, and one is just left alone by himself.
Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna do 2 damage to each creature. The Scion of the Wilds with the -1/-1 counter will die because it is only a 2/2.
Okay. State-based actions check. It kills it.
Something
Then
has
what
changed.
happens?
2 damage is dealt to it specifically, so what? So be a little bit more specific on what happened.
Okay, so because Pyroclasm deals 2 damage to each creature, each of these Scion of the Wilds will have 2 damage marked on them.
Thank you.
The Scion of the Wilds who was Bear and does not have a +1/+1 counter on it will then die because there are only 2 Scion of the Wilds in play. After
How will it die?
through
Because of
damage,
down
because it has taken 2 damage
toughness.
and it only has 2 toughness.
Okay.
So what kills it
What kills
specifically?
it? Kills it.
The state-based action of having damage
Yep.
on it.
marked.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Then,
And then finally, the last Scion of the Wild who has a +1/+1 counter on it is left by his lonesome. So the same thing will kill that Scion of the Wild.
Even though it has a +1/+1.
Even though it has a +1/+1 counter on it, because it has 2 damage marked, the other creatures are dead. It only has itself to check as far as its power and toughness equals the number of creatures you control. It changes.
so I've got a Dark Prophecy out. I think it's like 3 mana. Whenever a creature you control dies, you lose a life and draw a card. So what's happening here is state-based actions check. You cast a spell, priority's about to be passed, and boom, the game gets the sharing stick. Where's my sharing stick? Wow, got the sharing stick. So, it'll say, okay, you have 2 damage, which reduces your power and toughness to 0. You get to die. Boom. Dead.
DED dead.
And then, because a state-based action checked, the game gets a sharing stick again. Looks and says, oh, hey, you've got 2 damage marked on you, and you have 2 toughness, so that reduces it to 0. You die. Hey, I see you over there, Dark Prophecy. You're over there going, ooh, I want to do something. Let me do something. Please let me do something. Just a minute. You now have 2 damage marked on you, and you only have 2 power and toughness, so you die.
So that will all happen before the Dark Prophecy triggers go on the stack?
Yes, before the Dark Prophecy triggers go on the stack.
Okay.
Since the state-based action, it's like, okay, check, things happened, check, things happened, check, things happened, let me do one more check. Okay, nothing happened. Done my job here. Then Dark Prophecy's like, okay, woo, trigger. So, as judges, we have a saying, remember,
Decide.
damage doesn't
Door.
kill creatures, state-based actions do. Boom. And that is it. That is all I've got today. Guy, you have something. You keep me in line.
Rule regarding state-based actions, don't pay attention to what happens during the resolution of a spell. They are only checked when they are checked. Most
Yes.
common example is if your life drops down to 0 during the resolution of a spell, but you somehow gain life again before state-based actions are checked, you do not lose the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have no idea. How would that happen?
Oh, but it is a rule, it's in there, but I assume that it must come up because it's actually stressed for a lot of L1 tests.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So then when are state-based actions checked?
They are checked whenever priority is about to pass.
Yes. Before a player will receive priority and before any triggers go on the stack, state-based actions are checked.
So yeah, it feels like a ticky-tacky thing where like it's yes, the spell has resolved, you're at negative life, priority will pass to the next to the player who is dead, and they'll be dead. Like it will check there after the spell has resolved.
Yeah.
This is probably going to come up more in spells where there are multiple things that occur at the same time. For example, oh, no, that wouldn't do it either. Dang it. Okay, now I'm going to
Like a modal spell?
Yeah, or like one where it's read the bones, where there's multiple instructions for the same resolution. So yeah, I'll find an example one day, but...
For example, if there was a card, I don't know, there's probably like some arcane card, splice onto arcane, you gain 1 life. So if we were able to, if there was a sign in blood, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, that was arcane, and I'm at 2 life, and we spliced on the you gain 1 life, I would draw 2, lose 2, go to 0, but before state-based actions check, I go back up to 1.
Yeah, there we go.
That
That's
makes
a good
sense.
example.
Okay.
Fine work.
And if I'm making up cards, wizards, we want splice onto arcane to be a thing again. Bring it back. Do we have any questions in the chat?
No questions have been asked in the chat.
Okay.
So
Do we have any questions in here? Okay. Well, in that case, again, we would like to thank Paragon City Games for hosting us. If you haven't, please check them out at paragoncitygames.com.
yes.
Come into the store. It is a very lovely place. We like it here. If you haven't requested to become a member of our... Again, we keep doing this. Our judge group. We have a judge Facebook study group thing, which I don't know what it's called.
Utah MTG judge classes.
Yeah,
Utah MTG judge classes.
Yes.
I don't know
Request
why that's
that.
so hard to remember.
I have no idea. And tune
it's
in
gonna
next
make
week when Tony is going to be teaching us
Or a guest
about...
speaker.
Oh, we're getting the guest speaker?
We might get a guest speaker.
We might have a guest speaker. Tune in next week because we have a lesson. It's just debatable about what the lesson may be on. And yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. So yeah, this is the first time I've been actually here in the sharing room because we changed things up. So now I'm back here running the PowerPoints and stuff on the computer back here. Sorry we were a little late tonight. That took a minute to
I
get
got
there.
off work a little late.
It's all good. Couple things. We have Popper tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. It's a $5 entry, pack per win, +1 for playing.
Yay.
So bring your Popper deck. We'll also have Team Constructed next Thursday. 36 for the team. And it's Standard, Modern, and Legacy. So
Sweet.
come play at Paragon. I think that's all.
Patrick.
Okay, thanks guys for coming.
Yes.
And